bring in Lane Kiffin, the former offensive coordinator with Alabama, now the head coach at Florida Atlantic. Coach, thanks for joining us. Let me start with that decision at halftime. Who makes that call, and how would that have gone over with you as the offensive coordinator if Nick says, I'm bringing in Tua?
I'm sure that was the assistant coaches, bringing that up. Actually, if you look at the Sugar Bowl, I said last Tuesday, watching the Sugar Bowl, you could kind of see on the sidelines some players, coaches, and knowing people in that building, they were pushing for Tua in the Sugar Bowl, when they were struggling on offense. Tua had this unbelievable month leading up to the Sugar Bowl preparation. There were a lot of thoughts throughout the year that Tua was the best quarterback, but in that building, a lot of times people don't bring up their real thoughts on things. But, Jake Fromm was committed to Alabama, and, the story goes that Jake Fromm goes to Georgia when Kirby leaves. But actually, we know at the time we're probably getting Tua. They're the same class, obviously, from Hawaii. So had been out there in the spring with him. So we actually were okay with Jake going. That's kind of the unwritten story because we knew we were getting Tua and thought Tua was going to be just an unbelievable player and talent, and his preparation for the game is like no other.
But you are a big Jalen Hurts fan. You were tweeting that leave him in there, you can win this game. Would you have fought Nick Saban? If Saban says, let's bring in Tua, would you have fought to keep in Hurts in that position?
Well, I didn't tweet leave him in the game, so I don't know where you got that. But
no, you got.
I think at that point you had to make it.
You said time to roll. Let number two play. He will win it.
Yeah, that was before the game.
Okay. Did you feel that way at halftime?
You got to. Well, I didn't, but you got to see what was going on. As you're watching the first half, I just heard you guys talking about. It was a terrible game. There's hardly any first downs, and the defense are playing great, but, missing throws, people not blocking, people coming off the edge, as crazy as it sounds, first half could have been worse had Jalen not gotten them out of trouble. They weren't blocking anybody in that first half, and really, I think, not to be critical, but I think everybody's kind of it's well documented, not a very creative first half.
Offensively, right?
Correct.
What would you have done in the first
on Alabama's side?
Yeah,
yes.
But it felt like Georgia was saying, "We're going to make you one-dimensional. Go ahead, throw if you want, but we're going to take our chances of shutting down the run." What would you have done?
Well, I think first off, it would have been a totally different plan. But that is that is what it is. But watch the film from 7 days before. What's Oklahoma have at half 35 yards and 400. Or 35 points and 400 yards or something like that. You have to play, when you play those two defenses, you got to play with tempo, unbelievable fast tempo, with multiple formations where you're going really fast, you're giving them problems, run and pass. That whole go slow and, motion everybody and, that NFL style, that doesn't work against those guys. It never has, never will. Watch, when the Alabamas played the Georgias, the LSUs, it was all the same. If you're going to move the ball, you've got to play like Oklahoma did. Look at the last four games that in the season prior to this, Oklahoma, beats Alabama, scores 35 or 40 or something. Ohio State puts up 600 yards against them, beats them. Clemson should have beat them almost at 45-40. And then Clemson the next year beats them with another almost 600 yards. So, it's a key of how to do it. Just neither team did it until the end, kind of, with Tua there was a little tempo, because they were behind, so they had to kind of go tempo. Well, that's what they should have been doing all game.
What was that play? It's called Seattle, but are you familiar with that game-winning score?
Yeah, it's four verticals, and so it's 3-by-1 formation, four verticals, and the corner, you see the corner, it's Tampa 2, they're playing on defense. The corner should have rerouted the receiver. He didn't reroute him, and the safety played too tight on the slot receiver, and that allows you to throw it up the field. Now, that's a tough throw, and Tua made a great play on it. But the story before that is what happens. No discredit to either team, but players make plays in big-time games. Alabama's dead. Tua's sacked. There's three guys on 3rd and 8, and Tua makes all three guys miss, including an All-American, and then, look at the play before. they get sacked on the play before. They're gonna, if he doesn't make that throw on Seattle, what are they gonna do? I mean, can they even make a field goal that distance? Probably not. Now, I mean, the game's basically over. They're gonna be in fourth and forever. So, so why 75% of the game's recruiting. And that's why Coach Saban's the best is not because he doesn't coach well. He obviously coaches well because he's the best recruiter in the country. Look who's making plays at the end. They're handing the true freshman from Hawaii is handing the ball to the true freshman from Northern California. When does that ever happen in Tuscaloosa, Alabama? That doesn't unless you've established a program that can nationally recruit, which really Alabama has never been that program that has gone to California and Hawaii and got those guys until the last few years.
Yeah, it was incredible. As I'm watching this, in that final drive, you had freshmen on the offensive line, a freshman running back, a freshman wide receiver, and a freshman quarterback. That doesn't happen at Alabama. It feels like, freshmen can't make an imprint. It takes a little while to do that, but they certainly did on this team. I was surprised at that.
Yeah, they sure did. And that the game being obviously whatever it is for them, the 14th game of the year, those guys have had a whole extra month of practice leading up to it. And obviously, we're great players in the first place. They're part of, number one signing class in the country.
What do you think Georgia should have done in the second half that they didn't do?
I think their defensive plan was fine. Again, we always look at, outcome as fans, and not really look at what happened. I mean, they've got them, like we just said, dead to the rights. The guy doesn't reroute on the last play, but they've got Tua sacked on third down, when they end up getting a touchdown on the drive, 3 guys there, and that should be an easy sack there. So, I think the other side, obviously, Georgia got conservative, and so the downside of that is if Georgia isn't conservative and throws an interception, you say, well, hey, they haven't been moving the ball. Why are you not being conservative? So that's a little tougher call, but, obviously they did get very conservative on offense. And the problem when you do that with Alabama is now you're playing right in their hands. You're going slow and you're running the ball in between the tackles. Second half, second half, Georgia runs the ball for, I think, 1.4 yards a carry, because you can't get back into that stale, old school, whatever you call it, pro-style offense.
We're talking to Lane Kiffin, Florida Atlantic head coach. What do you think Jalen Hurts' future is at Alabama now?
I think that's a great question. Had this. The funny thing is, if this second half doesn't flip like this, and Alabama's moving the ball and doesn't change it, people that really know what's going on will tell you that Tua was leaving. Because Tua felt that he should have been the starting quarterback and had outperformed him in practice, and coach never gave him an opportunity. So, has this second half not happened, it changes college football because Tua is going to be one of the best quarterbacks in college football. I mean, he plays just like Steve Young. He's unbelievable talent, unbelievable release, and can get out of trouble, as you saw. So,
but what you're saying though, Lane, is if he didn't get in this game, you think that Tua is transferring from Alabama?
No doubt. He's played some, so he's going to have to sit. So he's going to go sit, and then he's going to have 3. It'll be a 4 for 3. So sit for a year and have 3 years to play. He's not going to sit there for another year behind Jalen. When he feels like he didn't get an opportunity to beat him out. So now the story's going to flip the other way. And the story's going to be, is Jalen going to leave? Now Jalen's such a great competitor. He may not, but most guys would. Most people would leave in this situation, and so that'll be interesting to see, and the thing is, you're so late. You're on January 9th here, schools start, we started yesterday, so a lot of schools start for their spring semester already, so there'll be a decision he'll have to make pretty quick. And
also what you're saying is that when Fromm turned down Alabama to follow Kirby Smart to Georgia, Alabama didn't shed a tear because you guys liked Tua better than Fromm.
Yeah, no, obviously that was never released publicly, because you can talk about recruits and you're not going to say that afterwards. But now that I'm not there, I can tell you that story. Now, we thought Fromm was great, went and watched him practice. This guy was an unbelievable leader, great baseball player, great command of the team in practice. Knew this guy was going to be really, really special. But just when you just watch Tua's talent, this was off the charts unique. Fromm is a great leader. Fromm is very talented, but Jake Fromm's not a first-round draft pick. That's not, you don't watch him and say, okay, that guy's going to be a first-round draft pick. You watch him, that guy's a great college quarterback, if he has the right surrounding cast also, which he does have, phenomenal cast around him. Tua's got a higher ceiling.
I'll leave you with this. Do you think Nick Saban ends his coaching career at Alabama?
No. What's he going to do?
No. Not his career is over now. I'm not saying retire, but do you think this is?
I thought you meant if you're going to retire now.
No. He's a lifer. I get that. But do you think that when he stops coaching, he will be stopping coaching at Alabama?
I would say probably 95%. The 5% we would say, his ego. If the right NFL job, the Giants or something like that. If it was the right NFL job, maybe his ego, drives him to prove that he can do it on that level because, everybody questions whether he can. So that would be it. But they like living there so much, and they've got it going so much that it becomes easy, at this point because how hard is it for him to walk into the living room and recruit a kid? Every kid since he's gotten there, every kid, I think they said stat, every kid that has signed with Alabama since the day that he got there has won a national championship. So I don't know if he knows that stat, but somebody will give it to him. That should be the first thing he says when he walks in the living room. I can guarantee you're going to a national championship.
All you got to do is wear all those rings when you walk into that living room.
Yeah, you're right about that. He's deserved them. And again, he's a phenomenal coach. Was the game managed great last night? Not really. Wasted timeout and stuff. But at the end of the day, he has better players every time, and you knew that. Every time you walked onto the field, you knew you had better players than the other team, and that's all because of his recruiting.
Lane, always good to talk to you. Enjoy the off season, and we'll talk to you next season.
All right, Dan, have a good one.
Thank you,
Happy
bud.
New Year.
All right, you too. That's Lane Kiffin, Florida Atlantic head coach, former offensive coordinator there. Had to get in a couple of shots there. The play calling wasn't that good. Continental Tire Coach's Corner, from sun to rain to snow and everything in between. Continental Tire is engineered to tire for what you do. Extraordinary performance and reliability, putting confidence into driving. For more information and the location of a dealer near you, visit ContinentalTire.com. Continental Tire, for what you do.
For more Dan Patrick Show, tune to Audience Channel 239 on DirecTV or download the Dan Patrick Show app.